What's up guys, Noah from Stage 3 Motorsports here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a quick review on the AWE exhaust for the Ford Ranger. Now this is a pretty new kit that has not been out long by the time that you're seeing this, but we actually got one a little early, so we had a chance to both install it and also run around with it for a couple days. And I've been driving it to get a sense of how it actually sounds and sort of break it in, if you will, because I don't like to review something just seconds after putting it on the vehicle. Now, what this is a catback system that's full stainless steel. It's going to get rid of the factory resonator in the truck, and then it uses AWE's 180 technology in the muffler to give you a better sound that isn't going to drone or cause a lot of heartache in the cab. Now, talking about deleting resonators and fancy muffler technology is really just that. It's just talk. So the question is, does it actually perform well on the street, and does it have the sound that we want? And I'm going to say, I think so. The first thing to clarify with this is obviously the Ranger is a 2.3 liter EcoBoost engine. So that means it's a little 4-cylinder with a little turbo on there, and it's never going to sound like a V8. So if you're somebody that's a tried and true truck guy and you've had a 5.0 or a 6.2 in the past and you want an exhaust that really hits on your Ranger, you are not going to like what we have here. And that's going to be the case for pretty much any exhaust, because with these little 4-cylinder trucks, it's just never going to have a super throaty, aggressive sound. And so it's going to sound like an import as much as people don't want to hear it. Now, with that being said, I've never had an issue with the sound of a finely tuned exhaust on a 4-cylinder or a V6 motor, and I think AWE really hit the nail on the head with this kit and got something that probably brings out the best possible sound you could get from this EcoBoost. So right off the bat in the audio, you can pretty much tell that when you're just cruising with this truck, the exhaust is not loud at all. And I'd say when it settles in and you're sitting at 2,000 RPM and you're just doing 50 miles an hour, it's almost not detectable whatsoever over stock. But once you get up on the highway, it's a little bit more noise, but only just a fraction. So cruising at 60 miles an hour, 70, 80, whatever that may be, you can hear just the faintest little hum of the exhaust, but it's a pretty far cry from what I would call drone by any means. So if you're used to just a dead silent truck like these are from factory, then maybe that might be more than you wanted. But if you're looking for an exhaust, I'm going to assume that you probably wanted to hear the sound of the engine in some capacity. With as quiet as this kit is when you're not on the throttle and you're just cruising around, the real impressive part is how good it sounds when you actually do get on it and you want some noise. So I just put my foot down. It almost sort of elevates the sound from a 4-cylinder to sounding more like a V6, but not necessarily in a bad raspy way. You just get a little bit more throatiness out of it. It gives the sense that the engine's bigger than it actually is, and I like that there is sort of a rumble there. And even when you're not really putting your foot deep into the throttle, you can roll off from the light with just a little bit of acceleration there and still get a nice tone that just lets you know that the vehicle's on and moving, as opposed to the dead silence that you get from this engine just right out of the box. Outside the vehicle, I think the sound is still pretty nice, and when you're cruising by, it's not so loud that it's going to drive your neighbors crazy or that you're going to weird people out passing them, but it will turn heads a little bit if you do get on the throttle, and it's enough to make people wonder, especially because it's such an odd sound to be coming out of a pickup truck. Another interesting feature of the AWE kits is what they call their crawler upgrade, and this is sort of just built into the system, and it's really how the kit is designed. But essentially what it means is that there's a extra pipe coming off the over axle that the tips are connected to that has a split where normally it would just be welded or bent, and that split allows you to undo the hose clamp, pull that pipe off, and completely remove your tips from behind the truck. And then there's just a little extension that goes on over that, and basically It creates sort of a dump exhaust behind the axle that isn't going to melt your tire, but also keeps you from having your nice shiny tips right behind the tire when you go off-road and there's a chance that you're going to scratch them up or you're going to bang it against a rock or something like that. So while I will say that I think the concept is maybe a little bit silly, and I don't know how many guys are going to crawl under their truck to pull that off, I do like that it is at least an option, and AWE put some consideration in there, because for those of you who are interested or maybe do really want a dump system in that regard, then this is still a good option for you. So if you are trying to decide if this is the right exhaust for you or if you should get something like this for your Ranger, the first thing I'll say is if you're expecting a V8 sound, like I said earlier, you're not going to get it, and that's not a knock on AWE. That's just going to be any kit really that's going to go on this motor. Now, if you are just wanting something that's a little bit louder and you are concerned that maybe it'll be too raspy or it's going to wake up the neighbors or it's going to be too aggressive to where your spouse or your kids aren't going to want to be in the vehicle, this kit is not going to give you any concerns there. It's very daily drivable and it's very reserved. Like I said, there's no drone on the highway. The sound is pretty dialed back and it really only makes noise when you want it to. In that regard, I think this kit probably hits right in the middle, kind of the same as with their 5.0 system that I reviewed previously. It does a good job of getting right in that sweet spot. Bringing it full circle then, with all that being said, I really highly recommend this AWE kit. It does hit sort of in the upper middle section of the price range. Usually their stuff is around $800, give or take, depending on what options or what systems you're looking at. Whereas you might find some cheaper systems closer to $400, but you can also find a lot more expensive kits that are going to be pushing up towards $1,200 to $1,500. So for what you get, I think the value here is pretty solid. So guys, if you are looking to pick up an AWE exhaust for your Ranger, head down in the description below, click those links. It's going to shoot you over to our website. And as always, thank you for watching.